Hello everyone, welcome to the Chris Pritchard Cycling News Show. It is Thursday and oh my god, it feels like I woke up this morning with a bad hangover, like what the hell happened last night. Still reeling from the Tony Martin and Luke Rowe incident, and I don't know, a lot of people are saying they got what they deserved. A lot of people are saying it was a little bit harsh. So for any of you cycling fans that were sleeping under a rock last night and have no idea what went on, just let me give you a quick recap. Luke Rowe, Tony Martin got into a little bit of beef out on the road on stage 17 yesterday. From my opinion personally, nothing major. It looked like it was a little bit of argy-bargy, but by the finish line they'd shaken hands, they'd made up, and as far as they were concerned, that was probably the end of the issue. But obviously the UCI commissaires took a different view on that, DQ'd them both, fined them 1,000 Swiss francs each, and that's the end of the tour for them. Both teams have put an appeal in. Whether they're going to get that, well, again, that's what's going to happen this morning. But the fallout from it has been unreal, and a lot of people have been taking to Twitter to give their opinion. Obviously, I gave my opinion yesterday with Cameron Jeffers. Let's head over to Twitter now and check out everybody else's opinion on this Luke Rowe and Tony Martin debacle. Starting with Adam Blythe. Just seen Luke has been DQ'd from the tour. Why? It's obvious why Rowe blocked Martin has, but not Luke. And I guess from that tweet, Adam probably hasn't seen the full version of the video. There's a lot of versions of the video going around where you just see Tony Martin and his actions, and you don't actually get to see what Luke did. And still, you don't really get to see what Luke did because it was hid behind a rider, but it's clear that there was some confrontation. Alessandro De Marchi took a different approach after he saw the interview with Tony Martin and Luke Rowe, and he said, careers assured as actors once you get off the bike. Alessandro De Marchi clearly thinks these two have a career after cycling in the form of actors because they're putting on a grand job of acting here in this video. Rory Townsend made a good point on Twitter. DQing guys for this is laughable. Tour de France commissaires ought to come down to a Tour Series round. If you're unsure of what goes down on a Tour Series round, check this video out.
So here we go, Tanfield again sitting there getting those hands resting on the bars. The Madison rider just goes up next to him, just gives him a nudge. Tanfield takes his hand off the bars and just, oh, and that was a bit naughty. You're not really supposed to take your hands off the bars like that, and it's all getting a little bit heated here, and this isn't going to end well if these riders carry on like this. You saw the
GCN legend Dan Lloyd had this to say: good move by the teams to get the two of them together, as they both said these things can happen in the heat of the moment, and they'd already apologised to each other before the finish line. Personally feel that should have been taken into consideration when making the decision. Dan's got a good point there, I like that. Well said, Dan. And Felix Lowe makes a really good point here in this tweet. Surprised that Martin and Rowe got kicked out, yet Richesi gets away with far worse in most sprints. And that argument's come up quite a bit, especially with the DQing of Peter Sagan back in 2017. A lot of people said he didn't do anything wrong. And again, I don't think he was at fault for that. It was, again, a racing incident. His elbow came out to try and counterbalance him, and ultimately he ended up taking Cav down. But the difference between, I guess, a sprint and what happened there was they're sprinting at 70, 75 kilometers an hour. You know, the potential injuries that they could get from an incident like that is huge, and they want to try and make them as safe as possible. But here, and I know everyone keeps saying there were fans at the side of the road, it was dangerous, that's fine. And if they'd hit the fans, if they'd have had an accident, I think the rule book should be thrown at them. I said this last night, it should be thrown at them, and they should be reprimanded for that, and they should be disqualified, no question. However, nothing did happen, so where's the harm? They're both going to learn from that by getting a fine and being made examples of, but I don't think they need to go as far as DQing them. It's not consistent across the board, and I think that's what a lot of people get annoyed at. If everybody, every time they lifted their hand up and touched a rider in anger, got disqualified, then it'd be a different story. However, that doesn't always happen. When someone punches somebody, it clearly happens, which is absolutely fine, but it goes on a lot more in the peloton, and had it not been at the front of the peloton, I can guarantee no one would have said anything about it. And someone taking a lighter look at this Tony Martin and Luke Rowe incident, Alex Dowsett tweeted this: Tony and Luke should have really joint won the most combative rider for yesterday. And Journal Velo making a very good point of poor old Mitchelton Scott not being the main headline, taking in another stage win. Poor Mitchelton Scott, every time they win a stage, they end up not being the biggest story. Impey, Alaphilippe in yellow on Bastille Day. Yates' first win, Rowe and Dennis goes missing. Yates' second win, GC changes and Pinot gains time. Trentin wins, and it's Martin versus Rowe. And sticking with reactions of people hearing the news, this is Bradley Wiggins' reaction after hearing Tony Martin had been disqualified.
Just here with the Wiggins clan, a phenomenal set of dance moves from Ben and Brad. What's it actually called?
Downhill skier.
Downhill skier, look at that. Poetry in Tour de France motion.
Check out this footage we got from our UCI source. This is the UCI president hanging out with Julian Alaphilippe and Thibaut Pinot after the stage. Alright, but it's not just the famouses that have had their opinion on this. Let's check out some of the comments on the video from last night. Paul Renton, please don't make cycling a snowflake sport. What's next? No climbs or racing on rainy, windy days? I mean, I'd be up for that. That'd probably make me... No, it wouldn't. I'd still be rubbish. True Funk Soldier said, just play the video of the incident. No one wants to hear you waffle on about this with still images for 20 minutes. Copyright though, innit, mate? Alex Watson, Uncle Chris loves a bit of speculation. You know it. Geraint Reynolds makes a good point here. How can the UCI disqualify these two but not Lopez, who attacked a fan during the Giro? Surely attacking a fan is worse. Absolutely, no doubt. Answer that. Answer that, UCI. Ken Miller made a bit of a good point here. Tony Martin should have gotten fined for dangerous riding. Fair. And Luke Rowe should have got DQ'd. You can't put your fist on another person's face. It is right there in the rule books. And he did make a very valid point on that. It's you can't do that, and it is in the rule book. However, the way Tony Martin didn't cry about it, and he wasn't that upset by the fact that Luke had put his hands on him, I think that should be taken into consideration as well. Here we go, Glenn Anderson. How deep into the tour or how hot it was is irrelevant. Behaving like children, inches from spectators, also behaving like children. They were children. Anyway. Is this behaviour you want to encourage in cycling? And as for drooling Anglo-centric views, get over yourselves. Calm down. If it was a key member of Pinot or Alaphilippe, would you honestly be saying the same nonsense? Yeah, I would. I would definitely still be saying the same thing. And I can guarantee that FDJ and De Koenig Quickstep think the same. They don't want those riders to go. It helps them, it assists them, but it wouldn't bother them if they were there or not. I don't think they're going to go out of their way to make sure that this ruling, if overturned, is then overturned again and they stay out of the race. Froome, all smiles, 5 weeks after broken/fractured femur, hip, ribs and vertebrae. Lol. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Alright, tell us about them. Portia Griffiths. The UCI disqualified 2 riders for having a girl scrag fight at a pub. Crying, laughing emoji sideways. Come on, riders are tougher than this. Cav, bring it on. That's in response to Cav getting back to racing. Now let's take a look at a few of the other stories making the headlines today. In the Chris Pritchard Cycling News Show, and Floyd Landis is back. Who? Exactly. He doesn't have to make some stupid comments. Check this article out. So this article is from outsideonline.com. I've linked it in the description down below so you can go and check it out. But the headline, Floyd Landis still has a lot to say. The disqualified former Tour de France winner speaks openly about doping in cycling, moving forward in his burgeoning CBD business. We're not going through the whole article, but I do want to pick up on one thing that Landis said. And he said, just let them do it. Cyclists already dope at will. Legalising it would stop a few people a year from dying by suicide from public humiliation. That would be the only change. Right, I'm going to stop you there, Floyd. It won't be. Because if you legalise it, that just makes it open season for people to start taking as much as they want of anything they want. And you're only going to lead to health implications later on down in life. You might save one person from dying from suicide from public humiliation, but ultimately they shouldn't have doped in the first place. So if you legalise it, people are going to be dying from heart attacks, from problems with their livers, with goodness knows what else. Remember Ricardo Rico? When he put a blood bag in a fridge and the fridge turned itself off, then he put the blood back inside him and all hell broke loose and he nearly died? How many times is that going to happen if you're legalising that kind of behaviour? Don't be stupid. He also then went on to say you either quit racing your bike or you dope. Shut up, Landis, that is not the case anymore. The only people that walked away weren't talented enough to do it in the first place. Let me clarify that. There's never been a rider that was talented enough to win the Tour de France that didn't win because they didn't take drugs. Again, shut up. In this day and age when it's probably the cleanest it's ever been, riders don't need to dope. I'm sure it goes on. But they don't need to dope. And I'm sure that in your era, Landis, that there were riders there capable of beating your ass and they weren't on drugs. And the riders that decided to walk away, maybe they just had more morals than you. And it wasn't anything to do with talent. Links down in the description if you want to read what that idiot has got to say. And according to an article on a French website, feminists are sick of seeing podium girls. Let's start this conversation, let's start this debate. Podium girls, good thing, bad thing, or does nobody actually care? And that's the thing, right? It's hard for a privileged white man to have an opinion on this and not come across as sexist, but hear me out, I'm talking from experience here. The majority of these girls, podium girls, are models. I know you're not going to believe this, but at some point in my life, I was going to say career, but it wasn't a career. It was a short-lived few years. I was a model. So I know how it feels to be judged solely based on what's going on here and here. I mean, when they judged here, I didn't get any jobs. But when they judged here, sometimes I got some jobs. But anyway, these women are paid to do this. They're paid handsomely well for the job that they do. They get to travel around France and they have to stand there. And ultimately they bring presence, persona, and personality to an otherwise a very boring podium. They don't need to be there, you're right, they don't need to be there. But the way the Tour de France has done it, compared to, let's say, Formula One or motorcycle racing, these women look sophisticated, they look professional, they look like they want to be there as well. They're not traipsing around in bikinis showing TNA. These are sophisticated women, intelligent women who have taken this on as a career. They get paid for it, they choose to do it. Whose right is it for someone who is offended by it to say, no, you can't do that? And I had a different opinion when it came to the Formula One, but I feel that, yeah, the women on the podium at the cycling events are dressed a lot more appropriately, and I think that's the difference between it. I'm all for having men on the women's podium. I wouldn't find that offensive, and if a man's getting paid to do that, then great. But leave your comments down below. Don't be sexist. Don't be crude, but what do you think to podium women? Are they a good thing for it? Do they bring something to the table, or is it an old tradition that just needs to do one? Let me know in the comments below. Right, join me now as we head to the finish of stage 18 of the Tour de France. Boys are in town, right behind us, 350 metres to go. Riders are still coming in now, but we're bringing you the most exclusive footage we can. We've just climbed the Telegraph near him and that boy there, and the finish was, how was it? It was pretty amazing, eh?
It was, but it's slightly anticlimactic. I think guys thought it was going to be. No, I think guys thought it was going to kick off more in the cold Galibier than it did. The main GC guys stayed together, apart from Egan Bernal attacked about 2K from the top. 3K. Geraint did have a dig, but Alaphilippe's amazing descending skills brought him back into contention.
That's it. Did he have a dig and an acceleration, knowing that Alaphilippe's descent was going to be so good?
Probably, because Alaphilippe descended and came straight past them all, and then tried to gap them. He didn't, but that's what he tried to do.
Yeah. So we've still got riders coming in now. Bear with me. So the winner of the stage was Nairo Quintana, and then there was a bunch of 2 or 3 riders still coming in. He had a good ride up there. Like he was flying up that.
Yeah, strong effort by Quintana on that final climb. He made that last 5K look absolutely piece of wheat.
So we've seen even more cracks in Alaphilippe. If that would have finished on a summit, he would have lost time today. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow, and more in particular, what's going to happen Saturday?
I think it depends how he recovers. That was a similar climb today than what's going to be on the final day of Pritchard, but it's, we haven't got that downhill descent, so if it doesn't recover between today and tomorrow, then I think stage 20 is going to be pretty. I think it's going to be the end of his tour.
I think it's going to be the end of his tour.
I mean, I hope not. 'Cause I hope it's going to come right down to the wire. But I just fear that's where he's going to crack completely.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've been saying this since about stage 12, so who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah. There's a load of fans down here who absolutely love it. Anytime he trumps, the fans are going mad for Alaphilippe. Until the moment that he got dropped, and then everyone fell silent, apart from Tim, who started shouting for the Brits. So, well, they started cheering again once they saw him. Absolutely epic descending. That was some of the best descending I've seen. That goes down in the history of like Sagan's descent into Gap. Nibble is descending. Cancellara is descending.
Sagan's descending.
I just said Sagan's descending.
Hey, we're trying to rush and get this done.
I know, sorry. Right. Thanks for watching. We're going to try and do the same tomorrow from the finish again, depending how much you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Don't forget, hit that like button if you've enjoyed this video. We'll be back tomorrow with more Chris Pritchard cycling news show with this guy, probably that guy, and more climbs and more Tour de France. Subscribe. See ya. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Now if you've not done already, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button just below me. If you want to check out yesterday's video, why don't you just click right up there. And if you want to check out the best video from this channel, it's right there. I'm going to go and dry my butt crack now because I can feel sweat seeping into it. Until tomorrow.